For generations, 3 words defined the gold standard of quality made in Germany. It stood for precision, it stood for honesty. And at the center of this reputation was Volkswagen. The name literally means the people's car. They were the brand you could trust to carry your family safely. But in 2008, they decided to sell the world a fairy tale. They called it clean diesel. They claimed they had done the impossible. They said they had built an engine that was powerful, fast, and incredibly good for the environment. It sounded too good to be true. And as we now know, it was. Beneath the hood of 11 million cars, there was a secret. A secret that would turn into one of the biggest corporate crimes in history. This was not an accident. This was a lie, designed in a boardroom and hidden in a computer code. Today, we are going to tell you the true story of how Volkswagen looked the world in the eye and blinked. Before we open the hood on this scandal, I have a question for you. Do you think big corporations care about ethics? Or is it always just about the money? Let me know your honest opinion in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you believe the truth matters, hit that like button right now. It helps us expose stories that others want to keep hidden. To understand why this happened, we have to go back to the mid-2000s. Volkswagen had a massive ambition. They did not just want to be big, they wanted to be the #1 car manufacturer on the planet. They wanted to crush Toyota. To do that, they had to conquer the American market. But Americans hated diesel cars. They thought they were loud, smelly, and slow. So Volkswagen needed a miracle. They needed a diesel engine that was clean and high performance. The CEO at the time, Martin Winterkorn, was a man who demanded perfection. He was famous for carrying a gauge to measure gaps between car parts by the millimeter. In his company, you did not say something was impossible. If you did, you were fired. So his engineers were trapped. They knew that to make the exhaust clean, they would have to make the car slower and more expensive. The laws of physics were against them. They could not please the CEO and the regulators at the same time. So instead of solving the problem, they decided to hide it. The specific technical problem was a liquid called AdBlue. This fluid is used to clean the exhaust fumes before they leave the car. To meet the strict American laws, the cars needed a large tank of AdBlue. But the marketing team said no. They said a big tank would take up too much trunk space and would be too expensive. They also did not want customers to have the hassle of refilling it often. The engineers were cornered. They could not use a big tank and they could not fail the emissions test. It was a dead end. That is when the decision was made. If they could not fix the engine with hardware, they would fix the tests with software. It was the moment the company crossed the line from engineering to criminal activity. The weapon they used was invisible. It was a line of software code known as a defeat device. Think of it like a student who has a cheat sheet for a test. The car's computer was smart enough to know when it was being tested by the government. It monitored the steering wheel, the speed, and the air pressure. If the wheels were spinning but the steering wheel was not moving, the car knew it was in a lab. Instantly, it switched into a special clean mode. It trapped all the harmful gases. It passed the test with flying colors. But the moment you drove that car out of the lab and onto a real road, the computer switched back to dirty mode. To save fuel and power, it turned off the pollution controls. Suddenly, that eco-friendly car was pumping 40 times the legal limit of nitrogen oxide into the air. This gas causes asthma, lung disease, and smog. For 7 years, Volkswagen sold this poison to doctors, teachers, and parents who thought they were helping the planet. To make the lie even more painful, Volkswagen launched a massive marketing campaign. They ran Super Bowl commercials featuring the Green Police, making fun of other drivers for being dirty. They positioned themselves as the saviors of the environment. They won Green Car of the Year awards. The hypocrisy was staggering. While their commercials were telling you to save the earth, their cars were actively destroying it. It was one of the most successful marketing campaigns in history, but it was built entirely on a foundation of sand. It showed just how confident they were that they would never be caught. But every lie has an expiration date. And this one was exposed by the most unlikely people. It was not the FBI, it was not a rival spy. It was a small team of researchers at West Virginia University with a tiny budget. In 2013, they wanted to test these German cars to show the world how great they were. They were fans of Volkswagen. They hooked up a portable testing machine to a Volkswagen Jetta and drove it on the highway. The numbers were shocking. The pollution levels were off the charts. They thought their machine was broken, so they tested it again. And again, the result was always the same. In the lab, the car was an angel. On the road, it was a monster. When the American government finally asked Volkswagen about these numbers, the company did not apologize. They lied again. They said it was a technical glitch. They said it was the weather. They dragged it out for a year, hoping the problem would go away. But the evidence was overwhelming. Finally, in September of 2015, the house of cards collapsed. Volkswagen admitted to the world that they had installed the cheat software in 11 million cars worldwide. The stock price crashed. Billions of dollars evaporated in hours. But the most disturbing part of this story was yet to come. During the investigations, files were found that showed just how far the company had gone to protect this lie. It was revealed that Volkswagen had funded experiments where they locked monkeys in airtight chambers. They forced these animals to breathe diesel fumes for hours while watching cartoons, just to try and prove that the smoke was safe. It was a moment of total moral darkness. A company that built its image on being friendly and reliable was catching monkeys and gassing them to protect their profit margins. The impact of this scandal went far beyond the factory walls. It destroyed the resale value of millions of cars. Ordinary people who had paid extra money to buy a clean car suddenly found themselves driving a vehicle that nobody wanted. They felt betrayed, not just financially, but personally. They had identified with the brand, and the brand had played them for fools. It also cast a dark shadow over the entire automotive industry. Suddenly, everyone looked at Mercedes, BMW and Fiat with suspicion. The trust that had taken 100 years to build was destroyed in a single afternoon. The fallout was massive. Volkswagen has paid over $35 billion in fines and settlements. Top executives were charged with crimes. The scandal effectively killed the diesel passenger car market in America. But more importantly, it shattered our trust. We assume that when we buy a product, it has been tested and verified. We assume that no company would risk the health of millions just to sell more cars. Dieselgate taught us that this assumption is dangerous. It showed us that under the pressure of corporate greed, even the most respected brands can turn into criminals. Today, Volkswagen is trying to be reborn. They are spending billions on electric cars, trying to erase the memory of the black smoke. They want you to focus on the future, not the past. But we must not forget. The Dieselgate scandal is a warning. It reminds us that technology is only as good as the people who control it. It reminds us to always ask questions and to never blindly trust a corporate logo. Now I want to turn it over to you. Has Volkswagen done enough to earn forgiveness? Would you buy an electric car from them today? Or is the betrayal too deep? Leave a comment below with your thoughts. I will be reading and replying to the best ones. If you found this video valuable, please share it with a friend. The more people who know the truth, the harder it is for them to lie to us again. Thank you for watching, stay curious, and I will see you in the next documentary.